All right, so welcome. September is almost over. Welcome to September 27th sales rally, everyone. Hey. Wanted to kick it off with some fun here. Has anybody seen this house? Let me know if you're here in person or on Zoom. Raise your hand or speak up if you've seen this house before, because I don't want anybody cheating. If you've seen this house before, and you know how much it is, don't cheat. But here we go. I'm gonna roll you through the details, and I want you guys to flex your comp muscles. Okay, so you can't pull any comps for this. You just got to go off a feel. All right. So this is 4 beds. So, yeah, it's a flying saucer. Let me see if I can hide these so that they can. There we go. Okay, so 4 beds, 5 baths. So it's set up for entertaining. Right. Okay. It's 4,018 square feet. And it's on 5 acres in Salmonock, Illinois. Look at that, close to the water too. Okay, so anybody want to guess how much this was listed for? Anybody? Let's run back through the details one more time.
It's like $1 million house to me.
$1 million. So we got $1 million from Tom.
That first step.
2.
In
All right.
Illinois?
Anybody? What was that, Sydney?
You said it's Illinois?
It's Salmonock, Illinois, which is not far from Chicago, I think. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'm going 1.5.
Ooh, 1.5. Okay. All right. So we
I
got
will lowball it at 500,000 since I don't know.
500,000? Okay, Ashley, 500,000. Anybody else want to join in there and give me a number? Naomi.
I'd say 799.
799. Okay. Okay, so I've heard a couple 1 points. Tom,
4 million.
4 million. 4 million from from Michael Marr. All right. I just saw Brooke Fritz joined us and Dale, so a couple of people on here. Deborah's joining in. I want to get as many people in on the fun as possible. So once again, to review before we reveal. Okay, so this house is 4 beds, 5 baths. Does it have warp drive? I don't know that it's functional anymore as a flying saucer. It is 4,000 square feet on 5 acres in Salmonock, Illinois.
You know the best part is
350. Okay.
in a really good snowstorm, you'd think you were in light speed.
Yes. Yeah, you can see it's like the star field coming at you. Okay. So anybody else want to weigh in before I reveal?
425.
425. Okay, so I've 350, 425. I've heard 500, and then I've heard 1.2, 1.2. Okay.
Somebody said 750.
Someone said 750. I think Naomi said 750. Okay, here we go. This just had a price reduction from 599 to 575, and it's contingent. So it only been on the market for 2 months. It's really interesting, but this home listed for 599. They dropped it 25, and apparently that was all that buyer needed. Waiting in the wings is that price reduction. So talk to your sellers today and see if we can get in on some of this buyer pool with some price reductions. One more fun thing. Here we see a condo building in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This condo association declares that all lockboxes for listed condos can only be shackled in this particular spot. And you can see there's quite a few. It's like that bridge in Paris. What is it? Those lockets you put on the bridge. And I think the bridge is actually falling down from the weight of the locks.
Yeah, they actually cut off all the locks on it.
Which is so sad. Love had to end because of municipal support for the bridge. Okay, so enough with the fun and games. The Y4C2Ts, these are our values. And I am going to open it up for anybody that wants to jump in on one of these, and we'll do bucket fills. I think I might have the slides out of order, but anybody want to jump in on one of these Y4C2Ts, fill somebody's bucket, just talk about how we exemplify at least one of these beliefs. Anybody? I'm gonna let it be awkward. I'll put you up on the screen so everybody in Zoom can see it. Anybody want to jump on these Y4C2Ts?
What are we doing?
So we're filling buckets.
filling buckets.
Yeah.
I'll fill buckets.
Okay. Yes.
I will fill your bucket and Russ's bucket and Kelly's bucket because I just walk in here and need something almost every single day and you guys help me. And I'm not even in this office yet.
Yes.
I'm working on
And if you haven't met her over here next to, between Kelly and Russ is Lynn Zelasco. Everybody say hi, Lynn. Not so loud, guys. Okay. Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in on these Y4C2Ts?
It's not really one of the white force, whatever, but I want to say congrats to Chelsea, who just had a baby.
Yes, Chelsea Betts. And if you haven't met Chelsea, she is in our market center and she had a baby 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And so beautiful little baby. If you're not friends with her on Facebook, be friends with her. Tell her congratulations. And she has a work anniversary coming up here too. So that's bucket fills. Anybody else want to jump in? No, Zoom, anybody? All right, so there we go. Work anniversaries. Congratulations to Chelsea Betts. She started with us in October. And congrats on the new baby. Wanted to go over the top 5 year to date. Not much has changed here in overall rankings, but the numbers are climbing and growing, which is great. So we got Brooke Johnson at 32.3 million, Lisa Boyle at 20.5, Brian Boyle at 13.7, Jeff Hallman at 11.6, and Sydney Groen at 8.2. Congrats, you guys, for some great production. It's awesome. Wanted to go into some market updates. So these are still August numbers. It's a little early for September numbers to be released, but I did want to go over what Northwest MLS officially puts out and compare that to where we are here. All right, so we're looking at a median closed price of 600,000 across our whole MLS. And if you compare that to where we are now in our area, with the exception of Leavenworth, we are more affordable than our entire MLS. Right now, there are some regions in Washington this is missing, notably Spokane and Tri-Cities. They're still on their own MLS, but it's only a matter of time. Northwest MLS will take over. Here in Wenatchee, we're seeing $496.50 as the median sales price for the month of August, compared to the rolling median for all of Chelan County at $573. That is very affordable. And the thing I want to highlight there is that it's still growing. That's the other thing. And maybe not Wenatchee so much, that's on pace with the whole MLS, but take a look at East Wenatchee. And these are previously owned homes. I went and you can play around with it in the info spark, so you can take out new construction. New construction was actually down around 500. So these are previously owned homes. A lot of big homes closing on sales over there in East Wenatchee, and it's overall just very popular. That's going to be where you'll see some competing offers still, is over in East Wenatchee, especially at certain price points. Cashmere was at 520. Cashmere it's what gets called a bedroom community. It's where a lot of people live and then they work elsewhere. A lot of people move there, right? That's where they want to be. It's a strategic move. And so we sometimes see less listings there, and you'll see that in the next slide. And then Leavenworth has just had a banner year. Part of it is people selling off their short-term rentals if they don't want to deal with bureaucracy and whatnot. Others are just looking to move up, and there's a lot of equity built up in Leavenworth. So that's what we're seeing. But across the board, we're on pace with home price increases, and eventually that equates to equity and value increases. Also wanted to take a look at new listings. So this is down across the board for our whole MLS, 13.3%. Is what you'll see there. That's not necessarily what we're seeing here locally. We are down quite a bit in East Wenatchee and Cashmere. We had a slew of new builds in East Wenatchee that got listed, and that has cooled off a bit. I plan on seeing quite a bit of those new builds completed and back on the market. So I think for East Wenatchee, that's temporary. For Cashmere, like I said, just less listings there. But in Wenatchee and Leavenworth, huge jumps. Leavenworth's up 135.7%. And this is compared to last August, right? So the end of summer usually is a bit of a lull, right? And as people get back into school and people are able to start making moves, things pop back up. But I did want to make sure to compare this to our overall MLS and just maybe give you guys some encouragement. Our area is faring better overall than the MLS. I mean, the whole of Chelan County is up 7.9%. And just so you know, this is just residential and condo. This does not include vacant land. But vacant land is very similar in the sense that there's just a lot more land here to sell. So for me, that's encouraging with those market updates. So sales prices and overall new listings. If you look at Chelan County as a whole and East Wenatchee, plenty of new activity that is outpacing the overall MLS. So yeah, does anybody have any questions on that before I go on and give it over to Russ for a bit? Any questions on market stats? Okay, if you guys ever want to know how to pull those, reach out to me. I'm happy to give you a rundown. All right, so let's bring it over to Russ and let's.
Hey, guys. How's everybody? How many people would like their sellers to be more cooperative about prices?
Me.
Anybody have any
Raise your
issues?
hand.
Bad news is best delivered quick. That's what some people say. I just thought I'd share a tactic, I guess, that I use in some cases. Now, every case is different. Every seller is different, but how many people know the economic term opportunity cost? Right. So basically, for those that don't, that means if I make this choice, I'm giving up this choice, right? So what I look to for sellers is I'll find out, why are we listing your house? What is your original motivation for selling your house or your investment property or your lot? And once you identified what that is, now let's start comparing your life. And so I start to talk to them about their life. Like, what does your life look like if we don't sell for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year, versus what does your life look like if we do? So what I try to do is get them off of the stubbornness, which just comes in with innate, like, I want to win, the principle of the thing, and start talking to them about what makes them happy. For example, if you have to take a $30,000 price reduction now, or offer a $30,000 price credit from Michael Maher's loan program to buy the rate down to 4.5. Am I close, Mike?
I'll talk about that today. Not really.
Okay, anyway, all right. So maybe it's not 4.5 anymore. It might take 60 grand. I don't know. Well, guess what? Most people are going to tell you that if they have to buy something else somewhere else, that interest rates, and they have to use that money, they're going to pay for it on the other end. And so when you're in an uncertain future of real estate right now, which we are, we don't know what's going to happen. I ask them, like, how does it feel to be sitting in this position where you have uncertainty around your future? Where your kids are going to go to school or your grandkids are going to come visit you. What does it feel like? How do you like it? Now, some people are going to be like, fine, I'll stay here my whole life. Okay, well, they're obviously not that motivated to sell, right? Why don't we just ask $1 million then? Hell, I mean, maybe there's some sucker out there that'll buy it, right? I actually get that way with sellers. I'll just drill them down and really try to figure out what is it that 10, 20, 30 grand is going to do for them. That's going to be better than them closing a chapter, moving on with their life, and beginning to accomplish what they need to accomplish somewhere else. And so sometimes that's just a method that is successful. So you might think about that with your sellers and start having those conversations about what's next for them. And maybe have a little less conversation directly about the price, and kind of do an end around to get to the price. So that becomes the last part of your visit over a cup of coffee, and start just getting into that relationship of trust, where you're not always calling them just with bad news, or just with, I have no news, but maybe just go get to know them better on a personal level. Ask them if you can come over, and then bring donuts and coffee with you, and just start to really get through that barrier that they put up, that force field that makes you the bad guy, and that you're trying to get them to do something they don't want to do, which ultimately will end up, here's what happens. Ultimately, you'll end up losing the listing, and the next broker will lower the price and sell it. So it's a relationship issue about trust more than it is about the numbers.
Yeah.
Any questions? Anyone?
No, but I tried to sell my house and off the lake. And for
I think I had it at 600,000 and I called you.
Yep. Can you hear this?
I called you and talked to you about what the heck am I supposed to do? I knew the market had just shifted. I just knew it.
Mhm.
And you know what? I needed to sell it. And
Now, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Lisa, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but Lisa had a house, two houses, one in Manson, one in Alta Lake. She could only live in one, so wasn't selling. And I said, well, we had that conversation. What is your goal? How do you feel right now? And you're like, I feel horrible. I feel like I'm making 2 mortgage payments and I feel like this sucks. And I'm like, okay, well, you have a lot of equity in both of them. I go, well, how would it feel if you had this much money in the bank and no money going out anymore? Would that feel better or worse than how you feel right now, that being that you're holding at 600,000? And you made a major price reduction, $100,000 price reduction after that conversation. How long before did it take to sell? A couple months, maybe?
No, probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
So
3
less
weeks,
than a month. She hit the market. She got ahead of the market, because what happens is sellers don't want to admit it, but they're going to chase the market down. You have to get ahead of it and catch that wave. Because if you're always delayed reaction, we don't know where it's going to stop. This is the problem when you're trying to time markets, whether you're trying to time them on the high end or trying to time them on the low end. That's a bad plan. Just get ahead of it. Anchor yourself like she did with $100,000 price reduction. And then boom, she sold it. Now, how do you feel about your home in Manson?
We're so happy.
And then your husband could quit worrying about mowing the damn lawn, and he got a job in Chelan as a general superintendent. Boom, your life works out. See, everything's always working out, guys.
Yep.
All right, that's all I got.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. And I would tack onto that, like you spend a lot of time getting to know your sellers at the beginning when you're getting the listing agreement, when you're getting it in the market, getting the sign in the ground, doing all your marketing blitz at the beginning, right? You get to know them. If the home's been on the market for a couple of months, people change, priorities change, right? They may have told you, I got all the time in the world. I can wait for this to sell. I own it outright, right? Things might change. They may have something that they need that money for 2 months later. So yeah, continue to have those conversations and build that relationship with them. And yeah, find a way for it to not always be bad news, right? Just check in. It's good. It's a really important thing to do, especially now with so many sellers being nervous and why is my home selling? Yeah. So now we want to open it up to Michael Marr. Go ahead, go for it with the Mortgage Minute.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone's heard, but the rates are doing some pretty crazy things. And the first time in a long time, the average 30-year fixed officially has hit 7%. Mortgage Daily News is a great resource that I use to kind of keep track of averages. That's not to say that depending on the borrower situation, they can still get into the 6s. But as Russ was saying, like a month ago, you could buy down into the 4s. Now you're buying down into the 5s. That's what you're going to be using your credits for. Everything else is going up significantly. So we have another Fed funds meeting in November, and all signs point to another 0.75% increase. That's what they've kind of stated that's going to continue to happen. Like, we don't know this officially, but I would just assume that's going to happen. And depending on how the market reacts, and this is the stock market, that will determine if we see 8s by the end of the year. So I think it's going to get a little worse before it gets better, and it's going to continue to kind of step up into the higher rates. But that's not to say there's still not a lot of opportunity for buyers to capitalize on that. The longer homes sit on the market, the more opportunity happens. And one of those opportunities that I saw for the first time is known as assumable mortgages. And Russ, you may have a little experience with this, but basically an assumable mortgage is where the seller of the property has a mortgage on it, obviously, and the buyer comes in and can take over that mortgage from that lender and have whatever the terms were for that loan. Now, there's some This only works with certain types of loans. Conventionals are very hard to do that, and it's not something that's usually done. It's typically government loans. So FHA is going to be the most popular. However, this is the one that I saw. It was actually in Everett, and they were advertising on the MLS description an assumable FHA 3.3% interest rate loan. And basically how you need to go about that is you need to go to the actual servicer or the lender that holds the note to determine what they require to make that assumable. And where these are going to be more popular are people with cash. So right now, even if you're bringing 20-25% down, it doesn't matter. Your interest rate's still into the sixes, maybe high fives if you're lucky. But if you can go get an FHA loan, yeah, you'll be paying some mortgage insurance, but who cares if you're paying 3% less in interest than you would on the market rate right now? The mortgage insurance won't make a difference. The only downside to these is that you can only assume what the loan is currently at. So if the loan's 300,000 and they're selling it for 500, they need to come in with that difference of 200 grand. So it's for borrowers that may have a lot of equity, or sorry, borrowers that have a lot of down payment, and they can get into these loans. So as a listing agent, it might be worth an ask and say, hey, do you have an FHA loan? Yes. All right. If they have a lot of equity, or if maybe there's not a big spread on the loan and what they're selling it for, it could be something that could be of great value to the buyer and something that can set your listing apart from others, especially if you have that trigger word in the MLS. Russ, do you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, did you know, believe it or not, FHA loans that's called a formal assumption. There was a term called simple assumption that the government thought was a great idea up until 1986. And all you had to do was sign your name. You didn't have to qualify. So
How'd that work out? No.
it worked out great. I knew a guy bought 30 homes and made 30,000 in 1 year on each one of them.
Right.
My question was, can you do similar to like down payment assistance programs with FHAs where you're basically applying a second? Can the seller carry a second simultaneously upon assuming the first loan formally?
So that's you're just referencing down payment assistance?
No, I was just saying, like a down payment assistance, it becomes a second mortgage.
Oh, you're saying like an 80-10-10, but the seller carries that difference.
Yeah, the seller becomes the source, not the down payment assistance program.
That's a good question. I'm going to err on the side of no, but I'm going to double check because I don't.
Hey, Michael, no is just the first word in a great relationship. Okay?
No
Love
means
that.
no, Russ. No.
No means no.
No, I'll check. That's a good question. I mean, because people are going to have to get creative, and with rates climbing like this and prices, I know Wenatchee's somewhat kind of insulated still, and prices are still good, but it's affecting people all over the place. I'm seeing homes sit on the market and these the sellers who still have wish pricing. They still have wish pricing. They're still thinking early 2022 or 2021 that this is what my home is worth, and so on. So I'm just trying to bring you guys as many tools as possible. Assumable mortgages are probably not going to happen that often, but it's something that you can say, hey, what kind of loan do you have? Oh, I have an FHA loan. Okay, cool. It's a buzzword that you can throw around, and maybe it drums up some activity, and you never know. Maybe that's the reason the home sells, because that buyer can now have a payment that's $1,500 less compared to a 7%. So just something to think about.
I think it's a lot like your, rehab enhancement loans, what we call them. I think they're all assumable. I think it just depends on whether the mortgage broker is fluent in the paperwork.
Exactly.
Because you'll hear no from people that are just like, they say, no, we don't do enhancement loans. Well, they can, they just don't know how. And so they tell you no.
Yep.
But if you could figure out that with a second mortgage, because a lot of people don't have a whole lot of equity, built up if they just bought in the last year or two. So you could come in and essentially, if you factored in the terms, especially, and I would check with the underwriters at the government level and go, look, if we give you the exact terms and we add that payment into their debt to income ratio, so it's not like an afterthought. It's not like a workaround, like we're trying to beat the system, but we're going to say, hey, look, we're going to owe this much money on the second. These are the terms. And this is I don't know why they would say no to that.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check on that. And as
It-
far as I go, I mean, when the whole mortgage industry, there's no common sense. And that's the most frustrating part. So we do have some non-QM stuff as well, which is non-qualified mortgage, meaning they're more common sense loans. But with comes common sense comes risk, which means typically a little bit more is needed to qualify because it's not backed by any kind of entity. It's just typically kind of private money at that point. But you know, it can definitely get frustrating where it's like, why can't we just do this? It makes perfect sense, but we're unfortunately under very, you know, just strict rules when it comes to that kind of stuff. So no, I'll check to see if that's an option. But just remember that, guys, that those that are listening, assumable mortgages, ask about it. Ask your sellers if they have it, and if they do have something that could be used, it's just another option. It's just something that you can throw out to generate some activity. Yeah. Any other questions on the market? Anything like that?
Yeah, Ashley, go ahead.
Yes. No. Oh,
Question.
Ashley?
What are the FHA loan limits right now?
So FHA has not released new loan limits yet. The conforming loan limits are now 715. So everybody knows we are going off of those. So for 2023, every county is 715,000 unless you're Snohomish, King, and I believe Pierce County are all high balance. They go up to 891. But FHA right now is 736, or it might be 741. I think it's 741. 200. Yeah. So
That's
those
gone
will, what's that?
That's gone up within the last few years.
Yes, it has.
bit.
And I foresee it going up again. I think it's going to go up if all signs point well into the fives. It better at least, because there's no one can afford to use an FHA loan. But now with interest rates coming down or with going up and maybe prices kind of leveling off, you know, that could help. But usually FHA releases their loan limits more so at the end of the year, beginning of the year. So as soon as I know, you guys will know. But conforming loan limits are up to 715. So if you have a higher priced house, maybe 820 or 8 something around there, and someone's coming in with 10-20% down or 10 to 15% down, they no longer have to go jumbo. So that helps.
Well, just guys, and Michael, you can do this. And maybe even if you can, Michael, bring a sheet of the last 30 years of the average interest rates. It's really important to understand that it's only been the last decade that this conversation is even a conversation. And I can promise you this, before the last decade, there was a real estate industry. It managed to survive for like 80 years, 100 years before that. And that was rates as high as 20%, 22%. You know, so anything at 10 or under has historically been a very solid market. What we're dealing with is just the shock and awe of perception of reality versus reality. We got used to something and we don't like change if it hurts us, right? So the prices are going to come down because they were artificially inflated in most cases. I mean, we are also seeing some craziness with being able to work from home. That's a whole nother buyer pool making money that we never had before in North Central Washington. So don't, you know, it is a little bit from a perspective of historical significance. This is brand new. That buyer is a brand new buyer. You know, we've never seen 20 and 30 somethings making 200-300 grand from home that were able to sell their condo in Seattle for $1 million and bring $500,000 with them. And now they can, you know, live over here. That's never happened. So that's going to offset some of the valuations because we're replacing local buyers with new local buyers that make more money, right? So we're seeing a shift. We just don't have the data to tell us how many of those are coming and how much are they making relative to the people that live here historically. So that's the only kind of variable. But other than that, typically rates go up, prices come down, everything will balance out and the markets will continue. You just have to come at it from a different strategy, a different conversation, and start practicing those new conversations because it is a brand new market for all of us.
Yeah. Loren, can you share your screen real quick?
Yeah, I will let you do the screen share. And before we get too much further, I want to make sure Anna Marie Dalby had raised her hand. You have a question, Anna Marie?
Hi, hey, question, do you guys do the Indian loan, the FHA Indian? I don't know, California was once, it was called 184 or something like that, where they just have a reduced down payment.
I believe we do.
You do the tribal?
Let me just check. Yeah, I
And
think
and
we
if
actually
so,
do.
are the loan limits still the same?
They
Because I've been
should
dealing with
be,
a lot of
but I'll
tribal
double
members.
check. I don't do a lot of them. I think I've done
Mhm.
one in 10 years.
Yeah,
So,
they're starting to come out and I'm,
yep. No, let me
We'll find
check.
out.
What tribe? Do you know?
it's
Doesn't matter.
Nespelan
Okay,
over here in 12 local Colville.
okay, got it. Yeah, let me check. I'll get back to you today.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Lisa.
You know, like, when the interest rates were up into the teens and the high teens, we had adjustable rate mortgages come into play. And they just were huge and big, so I was wondering, is that gonna happen again, even though this is only 8%, which doesn't even seem bad to me because I'm old. And,
Yeah, Michael asking about arms coming back. Are those
Yeah, so they did make a comeback and they are starting to, but the market is moving so fast that there's really not a market for them on the secondary. So no one's really buying them. So the rates are not better right now. If and when interest rates stabilize and we have something that's, somewhat normalized for the next 6 months and it's not really going up, it's not going down, it's kind of doing this. I think that's when arms will really start to shine a little bit more. But right now, you're getting an arm for the same exact interest rate as you would a 30-year fixed, or maybe a quarter point difference. It's just not worth it because things are moving so fast that there's no one that's willing to buy them.
Yeah. And I'll kind of tack on to that. I've been seeing some of the kind of online only national lenders doing 40-year now. And some of them have been talking about 50-year, which of course, with the 40 years, basically what they're doing is doing 10 years interest only. So you're paying almost nothing towards the principal unless you want to make extra payments. And of course, you got to educate your buyers about how they're not building any equity for those first 10 years. But if they want to get in and then maybe look at refinancing sometime in the next 10 years, it's an option, but it's emerging, right? So a lot of those products are not fully fledged. They're coming from, companies that I really can't think of a word that rhymes with rocket, but
Pocket? No, I don't know.
Rocket, yeah. Locket mortgage. Anyways, historically, I have not had great experiences with those companies, but you're starting to see some experimental products come out. I call them experimental emerging products that, there's these companies with so much crazy capital behind them that they can afford to lose money on stuff like that when inevitably people decide they don't want to be paying interest only for 10 years. But those kind of conversations, you might have buyers come to you and ask you about those products. And so I don't know if there's much more to be said about that other than that it's happening.
No, that's a good point. The non-QM space kind of introduced those recently, the 40-year, especially with prices where they're at. And even when interest rates were lower, they were kind of getting semi-popular in the non-QM space. And I will be surprised if within the next couple of years that a 40-year is not a standard eventually, that it's not enacted, especially if prices continue to go up. And you do have a lot of people making money. But as Russ and I have talked about, those interest rates, when they were at 2.5%, under 3%, you were getting people that could qualify for mortgages that would never have been able to make it $20 an hour. And now their payment's $1,200 a month. But now with interest rates going up and prices, maybe coming down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a full on just dump of prices like it was back in 2008. I just think something has to be done. They have to try and meet that buyer pool that otherwise wouldn't qualify for the most part. Who knows how long that'll take? I mean, when you're dealing with Dodd-Frank and all them, it can take years and years, but it's at the end of the day, it's something that's on my radar and it could help some people, but it's also one of those things. It's like, you want to be paying for 40 years, but people want to buy a house. So, I mean, we'll see. That's an interesting topic that I do like to kind of explore because who knows? I mean, that's
Yeah,
anything.
well,
Not
and I'm
just-
surprised. I'm honestly surprised that 30 is the standard. I don't want to bum anybody out, but the origin of the word mortgage, does anybody know where that word comes from? It's two old French words, mort meaning death and gage meaning pledge.
Yep,
It is literally a
definitely.
death pledge. Not a fun thing to
Lauren,
talk
you're
about.
not helping my case right now, man. Right?
Sounds like a good mortgage company name.
Death pledge.
Mortgage.
You,
Death pledge.
you know, you've got, what is it? Liquid death. It's the sparkling water. You could tap
Yeah.
into the crowd. Anyways, Michael, thank you so much
Cool.
for
Thanks, guys.
bringing us that, going over all the different options that are out there. And yeah, as always, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Brokers open tomorrow morning. Get out, meet new. I mean, if you're a new broker, if you're an experienced broker, let's go out and see some homes that are on there. There were 22 weeks ago, and then there were, I think, a dozen last. JR, how many? Do you remember how many homes were on that tour?
We did 10.
10, and then there was 11, an 11th one in Leavenworth.
I know Brooke put it on most of the- Their house in Shafton. They
Yes.
did $100,000 price.
Yep, that one's sort of at the beginning. It's just before the rock on Blewett. But that's a beautiful home. Recommend getting out and checking that out. If you want to carpool or caravan from here, let's meet here at the office and head out a little bit before 9. Last week I brought coffee donuts and OJ, and it was fun. So let's meet up and do Brokers Open tomorrow morning at 9. And then we got this coming up very soon. So let's RSVP today. If you plan on making it to this, I highly recommend it. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this is in lieu of our sales rally next week. So if you already had time carved out on Tuesdays, just get here at 9 a.m. This will be great. This is in person only,
They just
correct?
haven't sent the RSVP to me by the end of today, so
Okay.
I'll get a head count for lunch.
Okay, excellent. JR.
JR.
JR signing up. Okay, awesome. And this is free of charge, correct? This
Ashley
is
has a question.
Ashley. Yes, question.
Is there a link to RSVP or are we just letting Kelly know?
Just
Or
yeah, reach out to Kelly. Reach out to Kelly today. Let her know. I'm going to play this quick video. This is a quick snapshot of who Rebecca is. I love her energy, and I'm really excited for this.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Del Pozo, and coming to a training room near you is
That's us.
Business Planning Clinic. I'm going to come and teach you the simple, easy models to follow so that you can execute. Business Planning Clinic does not have to overwhelm. It does not have to be complicated. If you're anything like me, what motivates me is to serve people and to be able to leave a legacy. And that's what we're going to talk about in Business Planning Clinic. And so if in the past, maybe you've been overwhelmed by long, detailed business plans, that's not what this is. It's going to be a quick and simple, easy plan that you can execute on so that ultimately you can have your real estate business fund the life that you want to live. And here's the cool part. Is it looks different for each and every one of us. We get to decide and we get to design a life that makes sense for us as individuals. And so I look forward to seeing you there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. We're going to be following the millionaire real estate agent models to a T so that you can build a business and treat your business like the business it deserves to be. See you there.
Awesome. So as I was reading through the MRA the first time and the second time and the third time, one thing that always stood out to me was with the business planning part of it, the budget model, would have loved more real life examples. And that's what this is going to be bringing to you. So Rebecca has done this with countless agents. She is an educator at heart, and I highly recommend showing up. You should be able to walk away with a business plan that's specific to you and inspired by successful business plans that other agents have put in place. So can't recommend it enough. Hope to see you there. And yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Hey, I'm Rebecca
Okay,
Del Pozo.
let's see if we can get to the next one. Awesome. This is also coming up. So next week is jam packed. All right, we've got that on Tuesday, the 4th. This one, the short sales and foreclosures class with Jan Ellingson. Any other details on that, Kelly?
She
Okay,
has not got back to me,
Okay,
but
so
they need to scan. Did we send that out?
It's been sent out by email, but let's make sure we get it sent out again. So this is
Scan that to register.
This is an all-day thing, but Jan's done classes here. She does classes for our local association of realtors. She's a master educator as well. And short sales and foreclosures are already important, but I think as we continue to see things shift and change, I don't think it'll be like 08, but it will still be an important conversation to have with sellers and buyers. But especially those short sale and foreclosure sellers, just learning the ins and outs of that. It is not like a regular listing. So I would highly recommend anybody that wants to kind of level up their listing business, wants to be better educated on this process, please take advantage of this. As I understand it, it is a free training. Scan that QR code. We will get that sent out to you, and yep, take advantage of it. Block that day out. It's going to be good stuff. And then family reunion. Yes.
It just takes you to her Zoom. It
Yes.
doesn't-
Okay.
doesn't
So
allow-
that will be where the Zoom is held. So I would again keep that on file. You can take a screenshot now, or we will send it out later. But that QR code will take you to the Zoom
That's how you get
room.
onto the call.
Yep. Friday, October 7th, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Awesome. So family reunion, the early bird special, $9.99, is ending at midnight Central Time, which is 10 p.m. here on the 30th, which is Friday. So Friday the 30th, that early bird special will be going away, probably be jumping up to 1,200. I think it's usually how it goes. So take advantage of that while you still can.
And supposedly they're working with a huge entertainment company for our Northwest region.
Yes, we
event down there.
just heard on a
They
call
won't
this
tell us
morning
who,
that
but
that
what
they're keeping stuff pretty hush hush, but the regional event will be pretty big, and it'll be there in the happiest place on earth. So yeah. Just a reminder, we have a whole library here. Your First Home second edition came out 2 weeks ago, but you can get it right here at the Market Center for $10. Sold a few copies already. It's a great resource. It can be a great gift to clients, but if nothing else, I would read through this and look at those perspectives, because there are 10 first-time home buyers from within KW that can walk you through their experience buying a home a while ago or recently, and just the ins and outs of that whole process can be very helpful, and I recommend it. But we've also got several copies of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, books on flipping and books on holding property. Just really a whole library. So if you're ever interested, want to dig into those educational resources, they are here for only $10. Contracts class. This is a big one. So those changes that are coming down the pipeline in about a week from today, the 3rd. So Wednesday, the 3rd, maybe. 3rd is Monday. Oh my gosh. So Monday, October 3rd, coming down the pipeline. Big changes in how we get compensated. If listing agents are having the proper conversations and they're offering a good amount of commission, there's not too much to worry about, but you still need to understand how to do these new forms, right? Form 21 is changing. Item 16 will become a line item that has the actual buyer brokerage firm commission in there. You got to be, I would drill into this. So today here, it's technically right now, but we're going to take 5, regroup, and we're going to be focusing on the buyer side of this today. How to make sure you get paid as a buyer broker. Big deal. So be sure to join us. Same Zoom link as you used to join this one. And that's it from me, folks.